Many years ago, my unfortunately now deceased stepdad went to a car boot sale with my mum, and knowing that I'm rather a fan of video recorders in general, he very kindly purchased me this Ferguson 3V29 for the princely sum of £1 whole. This was back in the late 90s, and I've held on to it ever since. Not really ever done anything with it, but it has quite a sort of a degree of sentimental value. So I've held on to it purely for that reason. And I've just powered it up. It still powers up. It's doing the typical hit play, and it just doesn't have the torque on the motor to just get it to the last final point of getting the posts engaged around the head, which is very common, and we've seen this on other decks of this era like 3V31, 32, my ITT 8924. You'll also see it on all of the JVC clones and JVC decks that use this very same deck. So with a deck like this, you could argue, a lot of people would say, oh, there's not really much point in restoring it, it's old, it doesn't have linear stereo, it doesn't have hi-fi stereo, it doesn't have long play. But you see, that's where something like this comes into its own. If you just want to be able to play back tapes that you have recorded in standard play, or play back old tapes that you've still got lying around, like this one for example, then something like this is absolutely perfect, because it's simple, it's modern enough to accept a remote control, which, yes, it's by a cable, but it does have a remote control. There's none of the faffiness of the earlier decks that this one directly replaced, the 3V22 for example, which was an early piano key example. And they're just damn reliable. Plus, I think they look rather nice as well. They're a very sort of a very neat sort of layout on the front. All of the buttons are in sort of a logical position. The clock is easily set, so just hold down clock if I remember rightly, do the hours and the minutes. I don't think that's the current time, but that just goes to show you how easy it is. And then you have this nice little star here, which I don't know if you can actually see. This may flicker slightly due to the refresh. You have this rather nice looking little sort of snowflake slash star, which shows the seconds obviously going by. It also has all of the sort of features that you could hope for a machine of this era, and despite it being a low-end machine, it still has the audio dub facility, which allows you to dub your own recording, your own audio recording, over the linear audio track. This was a feature that was very quickly removed from later machines, because you could sort of argue that this was almost a very, very entry-level prosumer machine. They had a lot of professional features, despite the fact that they were just an entry-level deck. Cosmetically, it's in need of a bit of a clean, but it's not actually that bad, to be honest with you. It's in need of a little bit of a clean, but overall, it's not in bad shape at all. Now, one thing which is quite good, as you can see here, is it is fast forwarding very nicely indeed. There's no delay on the idler, so that's probably going to be one thing that I'm not going to have to replace. Pinch roller I might want to have a look at, so I'll probably do what I normally do and just give that a bit of a clean. The loading belt is probably going to be the first one that I'm going to attack, and yeah, that will certainly be the first one I'm going to attack. Also, this is something that's quite nice, that has now started to rewind. So it's reached the end of the cassette and it's automatically started to rewind. I think if this was playing, it would automatically rewind as well. Little features like that were actually stripped off future lower end machines because, you know, you could just make it cheaper by not including that, quite frankly, very useful feature. One of the things back in the 80s is when you, and also 90s, when you had a rental cassette, it was always a nice gesture to rewind the cassette before you took it back. It's also good to have the cassette fully rewound because it keeps the actual magnetic media protected inside the case and not exposed along the front edge of the cassette itself. So I am going to let this one rewind, and then I think we're actually going to start taking a look inside, and in the final episode we'll probably get, well, we will get a TV onto this and see if it actually works for displaying a picture. It worked a few years ago, but never ever believe that it's going to continue working, even though, oh, it worked fine when it was last turned on. A lot can happen to a machine during the time that it last worked and the time that you come to see if it's still working. It's all sort of down to how it's stored. This one has been dry stored, so it's been stored inside the house, and at the moment inside the dehumidified garage. So there is really sort of a good chance that everything should be fine electronically. I mean, the fact that the deck functions are working fine means that Syscon is probably working well. Anyway, I'm going to get this rewound, and in the next episode you're going to see me starting on working out where the problems with loading the cassette are. I mean, I think, to be honest, we know exactly where the problems are, but we'll be taking a look at that in the next episode. Anyway, for the moment, thank you very much for watching, take care, and see you soon.